Good morning, Zio here. And today we're going to start. No, we're going to cover what we were planning to cover on Sunday and didn't actually get around to because of issues, mostly a storm issue and stuff. So today we're going to talk about Naughty Dog, crunch in the gaming industry and other things, and what crunch means and stuff, and all that mess. So I guess that's what we're going to get into. So yeah, let's do this. So yeah, we're going to talk about Naughty Dog and crunch, and apparently how much longer this approach can last. Yeah, I'm really not sure how to really approach this because crunch is sort of a weird thing to talk about because it means different things depending on what field you're talking about. I mean, well, it means the same thing. Essentially, you're working overtime, you're working extra hours, you're trying to crunch if you go about it to get something finished, right? And a lot of industries have some form of crunch, whether it's, retail, gaming, game development, or anything else. A lot of things have crunch because they set a deadline. Or there's some kind of deadline to something, or there's a particular time of season or whatever, and it makes things to be a lot more hectic. So, for example, if you're in the retail industry, those 3 or 4 or 5, whatever days it is now that they're constantly open, where they used to close for Thanksgiving and close, for that time and not be open. And now everybody's open 24/7 and they're doing, Black Friday specials and pre-Black Friday specials and post-Black Friday specials and pre-Thanksgiving specials and all that other stuff. And you're constantly having to work through the holiday season. That is retail's version of crunch. I myself, of course, I'm in the shipping industry, so I drive a truck, and we have been on crunch for months at this point in time, where we have been working overtime so much, with the exception of this last weekend. I finally got 2 days off for the first time in forever, and everybody has their own version of crunch. I guess it really just depends on how long you can really go until you burn out. But yeah, the gaming industry is no different. And, if people want to sit there and say that crunch is good or crunch is bad or we need to get rid of crunch, then get rid of deadlines. That'd probably be the easiest way to go about doing it. And, I guess not taking so long. I'm not sure what really causes them to get into a crunch mode, other than something has gotten them behind for whatever reason. So if you go and you take a look at whatever was happening, take a look at the game, and go say, what exactly was it that caused us to fall behind? That might be your answer to fixing the idea of crunch. If you've got, say, executives or something changing their minds constantly, or changing how they want to go about stuff, say they come up with a thing, everybody's going with this, everybody's practically done with this, and they come back, it's like, yeah, we're going to scrap all that and restart this whole thing from the start and do it a different way. That could lead into crunch in gaming, of course. Not to downplay it, and I'm not going to sit here and take sides of whether or not it's good or bad. I mean, unless you're salaried, crunch is usually a good thing for you, just in the amount of hours and time you're getting paid for. If you're salaried, on the other hand, crunch is bad for you. There's no way around it, because you're still getting paid the exact same amount for a lot of extra work. So let's go down here. But this is a tale of Naughty Dog losing 70% of a department, where they're talking about The Last of Us Part 2 and the crunch and all that good stuff, and how it's caused people to leave. Yeah, let's take a look. But yeah, they do try to take care of you, providing food, encouragement to go on breaks, said one former developer. But for the most part, the implication is get the job done at all costs, which, is kind of standard for anything, to be totally honest at this point. Get it done and get it done safely. I guess when it comes to programming a game, there's not a whole lot of safety things that you've got to throw into the mix, but, I guess walking around the office is a trip hazard. Anyway, one of the major consequences of this culture has been the attrition of the 20 non-lead designers in the credits of 2016's Uncharted 4. A whopping 14, 70%, are no longer at the studio, which has had a wide-ranging effect on the development of The Last of Us 2 and led to questions about the continued viability of Naughty Dog's approach. Some Naughty Dog veterans tolerate or even enjoy the crunch, while a handful have even found ways to work normal hours. But those speaking to, we got this from Kotaku, of course, says they see it as an untenable atmosphere. And, when it really comes down to it, I think a lot of it does have to come down to attitudes like work ethics and everything else. When I worked in retail, I saw people come and go all the time. They'd come in, they're expecting, I guess, an easy job or something, and then they find out they have to do something, and they're out the door. I remember we had one guy show up years ago working, it was right around the holiday season, came in as seasonal help, and things picked up, and his first day was a busy one, and he worked half his day. Then he packed up his till, which is his money drawer, the thing that keeps all the cash in it, if you don't know what that is, and disappeared. With his till in hand, by the way. He didn't just walk out the door. He closed up his till, collected all the money into a bag, and walked straight out the door and was gone. He took all that money that he just made, the store or whatnot, and decided he was done with it. And I've seen plenty of other people come in and they've walked out in the middle of their shifts because, they can't handle the fact that you got to actually do some work. And, when it comes to me and work ethic, which is why I may come off as, I guess, condescending or something when it comes to people complaining about things like crunch. I don't do it on purpose. It's just, when it comes to me and working, I'm there to work. I'm not there to goof off. I'm not there to, talk up anybody or to, sit around the water cooler or anything like that. Whatever, your version of goofing off would be at work. I mean, there's a time and a place for it, of course. When you get your entire job done, you've got nothing left to do. I hate the mindset of you have to look like you're constantly busy kind of deal, which a lot of places do have as well. Like when I worked in retail, they're like, if a manager comes by, you've got to look like you're doing something. So start cleaning the counter in front of you or something like that. So they think you're doing something even though you're done. And I think that atmosphere is horrible, to be totally honest. When you're done and, you may be still on the clock because you're scheduled for a certain slot or whatnot, as long as you're, especially say retail, because we're going to go back to retail all the time for this, just because that's where most of my stories and stuff come from. Mainly because everything else is working by myself as a trucker and Air Force. So, completely three separate different environments altogether right there. But yeah, when it comes to that mindset, it's like, no, if you're done with your job, there's nothing more for you to do other than, say, if you're in retail, pay attention to customers when they show up to your department and say, hey, can I help you out? Can I help you find something? If there's literally nothing else for you to do, there should be no reason for you to be really just sitting there pretending to do something just so somebody else can feel, I don't know, whatever it is that they feel because they walk by and go, that guy, always busy, always doing something. When things are done, they're done. Which is, of course, one of the things I love about my job right now is the fact that when I'm done, I'm done. I don't have to stay around. I don't have to look like I'm doing anything. I just clock out and go home. Unfortunately, of course, the side effect of that is we've been in crunch for months now, leading up to a particular thing that's apparently now plaguing the world, which might explain why we've had such an increase in traffic and what we, deal with. But, it's, to me, it feels like it's a work ethic thing. When you got people who just can't handle the crunch, I highly, highly doubt that they've been crunching for like 4 years or something straight. Crunch is something that happens usually, when it comes to gaming development, at the end of a cycle, right? You've been working on this game for 3 years, you're getting to the release date on the 4th year, and then you realize you've still got a ton of stuff that needs to be done, so you've got to crunch it to try and get it out there, get the bugs fixed, whatever it is, because you've slacked off or did something else. I don't know, maybe this just isn't really making sense and I'm just rambling at this point, but talking about people just leaving because they don't see this approach or this thing as a viable approach, okay, maybe they just got bad work ethics. I don't know, maybe they're used to working not as hard somewhere else. It happens. If you're going to sit there and tell me that some of the staff love crunch or enjoy it, or others figure out a way to actually work normally without crunch really affecting them, it feels like when it comes down to that, it's, say, person A hates crunch and left because of it. Person B enjoys crunch for whatever reason. And person C seems to be able to do their work without any extra crunch or time afterwards and still be done. Sounds like to me that person A has a mismanagement problem when it comes to what they're doing, or somebody else higher up has messed up their work and they're constantly having to refix it or go back and do something, which, can be a real pain. But of course, at that point, then you have to get into, the personalities of people and say, hey, look, boss, I see what you're getting at. However, it's not going to work. Here's why. I've already got this, and now you suddenly want me to get rid of that to fix this. This is going to add X amount extra time that we just don't got. And talk it over with them, of course. Don't come at them hostile or anything like that. But, it personally feels like that the people who can't handle crunch are just people who just can't handle a long or a really what is the word I'm looking for? A workload that is beyond their capabilities, I guess. I don't know. Or they've mismanaged their current workload, which leads them to crunch at the end, whatever, or, regardless. Anyway, meanwhile, when it comes to something like retail, crunch would be the holiday seasons, of course. There's nothing they can do about that. Best prepare and best staff, which, let's face it, they bring in the entire store and they're still understaffed. But, that's the best way to go about doing it, is to work smarter, I guess. Work smarter, not harder. But anyway, this can't be something that continues over and over for each game because it is unsustainable, said one developer on The Last of Us 2. At a certain point, you realize, I can't keep doing this. I'm getting older, and I can't stay at work all night. Manage your time better. Like I said, I'm not trying to be all condescending or anything like that. Maybe there are probably 1,000 different reasons to why they're stuck with crunch. But when you give me a statement that, let's see, where was it? I can't find it. Oh, yeah. Some Naughty Dog veterans tolerate or even enjoy the crunch, while a handful have even found ways to work normal hours. But those speaking to Kotaku says they see it as an untenable atmosphere. When you've got a statement like that, it leads me to feel like that the failure of crunch is in the person itself, not exactly the company. If it's happening time and time again, maybe it's especially if it's happening to the same people time and time again, it could be the person involved in it and not the company itself. Especially when you've got people who you apparently can find ways to work normal hours and still get their job completed. Yeah, it really does feel like that's a on the person kind of thing, when it comes to this kind of crunch. So, you know, I see people complaining about this all the time, you know, railing about crunch. And honestly, you know, on one hand, I feel you because I've been there, I've done it, I'm currently doing it, you know, in my own way, on my own, you know, in my work field or whatnot, the way they go about it. But at the same time, you know, I can't help but say, maybe you're the problem, and it's not the company itself. You know, people have railed about Naughty Dog's crunch, but at the same time, I've also seen people talk about this same thing where they're like, and then some people seem to enjoy it while others can work their normal hours. And I'm like, how? How is that possible? If everyone isn't on crunch, but some of you are, it might not be the company itself, it's you. It has something to do with what you're doing or not doing properly. And then again, it also could be somebody over you not doing something properly as well, which of course then it falls on you as a person, as the developer, as the man on the ground or woman on the ground, you know, or the thing, whatever you are on the ground doing the actual job, to go up and say, hey, look, we'll say their name is Bob. Bob, this isn't going to work. Here's what we've got. Here's how we can fix this. But what you want just isn't going to work. And talk it out, you know. And if you're not willing to do that, there's really no help for you at that point. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Let me know what you think about crunch down in the comments below. I am Zeo. This is Zeo Gaming, and I will see you in the next one.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, smash that like button, and always subscribe for more. And of course, there are other videos floating around somewhere on the screen, so click one of those and see if you can find something that suits your fancy. Till then, I'll see you later. Bye.